In the next few minutes, I'm going to build out an entire cold email campaign completely from scratch. And the best part is that you're going to see every single part of the setup process. And yes, it's the exact same step-by-step process that I use inside of my own service-based agency called B2B Boosted, where we have over 60 different B2B client testimonials. And if I'm totally honest with you, it literally just boils down to three main things. The first thing is the sending volume, aka the number of emails that we're sending out that makes it mathematically improbable that we're not going to generate leads. Secondly, it's the copy, aka the messaging that we're sending out at each individual prospect. And thirdly, the email infrastructure, the ability to buy a lot of domains, a lot of inboxes, meaning that we can send millions of emails if we wanted on a daily basis. Now, the good news is that every single one of those three things can now be handled by AI. And today I'm going to walk you through exactly how you can pull this off inside of Claude Code. So let's jump right into it. Okay guys, we already talked about the key three things that we need to know in order to be able to create a killer AI cold email system. And the first thing that we need to sort out is the volume piece, which is largely to do with the way that we source our leads in the first place. I personally do all of my lead sourcing inside of Claude Code. And if you have never used Claude Code in the past, it is basically a version of Claude that can take over your entire computer and can take actions on your behalf. So instead of you clicking a lot of buttons manually on your computer, it basically does all of that for you, and you just need to prompt it in plain English in order for it to get started with performing all of these actions on your behalf. In order for you to set up Claude Code, all you need is largely three things. The first thing is a Claude.ai account for as cheap as $24 per month. Now, secondly, what you need is an IDE, which stands for an integrated development environment, and this can be any of the following free apps. For example, Anti-Gravity, Cursor, or Visual Studio Code. And for the purpose of this video, I'll be showing you how I use Visual Studio Code. And then thirdly, all it takes is for you to install Claude Code onto your computer. By the way, there will be a video popping up on your screen right now. If you watch the part that starts at 1 hour, 3 minutes, and 18 seconds, it will show you the entire installation process for Claude Code on your computer, so you can follow along and do that for yourself. And that video, alongside a bunch of freebies on how to use Claude Code, will be inside of the second link in the description underneath the video. Okay, so let's say you already set up Claude Code on your computer. In order for it to be able to perform all of this funky AI cold email stuff for you, you need to connect it to two main MCP servers. Again, if you're not familiar with MCP servers, MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, and it's basically the thing that glues together all the other APIs and external tools directly to Claude Code. And it's basically a way for you to connect different tools without you having to figure out what the hell a HTTP API call is in the first place. For context, as soon as you're inside of your integrated development environment, be it Anti-Gravity, Cursor, or Visual Studio Code, like I'm showing you right now on my side, all you need to do is just click on the pin in the top right-hand corner, which is the Claude Code pin. You should be able to first of all install it, by the way, in case you still don't have it installed, in the extensions. So if you click on extensions over here, and if you type in Claude, you should be able to see the Claude Code is top of the list over here. So all you would need to do is just click on install, and then you'll see it pinned in the top right-hand corner here. So whenever you do start a new chat, and you can basically say connect the Smartlead MCP and CLI to my computer. And in this case, CLI is a super similar concept to MCPs. It stands for command line interface, and it basically just gives you the option to input short commands so that you can then perform actions within a specific place for you. So what I mean by that, let's say I type in Smart Prospect, it will automatically go and pull up Smart Prospect, which is a feature within Smartlead, which enables you to filter through a lead database. So essentially for that, you can just type in connect the Smartlead MCP and CLI to my computer, leave it at edit automatically at the bottom, so it asks you for permissions, and so that it's quite safe that way. And then if you just click on the toggle here, it will basically tell you everything that you need to know. It will basically just ask you for the API key at some point, and you can grab the API key by heading into Smartlead
and heading in the top right hand corner, and then over here just clicking into settings, API key management, and just copying your API key directly to clipboard by clicking over here, or creating a new admin key and just giving it a name and then copying it straight into Claude Code. And let's say today I want to create a really quick campaign inside of Smartlead. All I'm going to do is just create a really quick prompt explaining what kind of leads I want to source through Smartlead in the first place, and I'm going to paste it into a new chat inside of Claude Code. So I'm going to say something like this: use Smart Prospect to search and build 3 prospect segments using ICP filters. And then of course here I'll say job title, seniority, company size, industry, and tech stack where available. I'll first of all look for sales leaders, I'll secondly look for marketing leaders, then I'll look for RevOps. And as far as the industries go, I'll say industries will have to be software related, your call, and the geography will be UK only as an example. And before we source any lead list, before we delegate that task to Claude Code, my favorite go-to line is always saying ask clarifying questions before doing. And typically at that point you want to switch from whatever mode you have in the bottom right hand corner over to plan mode, so you can plan this project for you before you get started with it. So you can see within just a couple of seconds over here, because I have a huge operating system behind my Claude Code account, it says, okay, I have a solid picture now. This is lane 1, Tim's own client acquisition. Since there is no client named in this request, we're going after UK software targets, GTM leader personas. Before I ask you the business decisions, let me pull the action filter values from Smart Prospect. So essentially it's now going to pull up some additional filters from Smart Prospect, which I need to keep in mind in order to make sure that we're filtering for the right type of leads. In case if you're not aware, Smart Prospect is Smartlead's built-in lead database with over 300 million verified business profiles. So the leads come from Smartlead. They don't need to be imported from any other lead database via CSVs or anything scrappy or manual like that. And the 4 non-negotiables, in my opinion, for building any lead list are, first of all, the job titles, secondly, the company sizes, just to make sure that you're filtering through to the right kind of companies. So whether it's 50 to 200 employees, 200 to 500, 500 plus, or SMBs, which is typically under 50. Also remembering to input the locations, specifically the countries or the cities or the states, as well as the industries of choice as well. So those 4 that I just mentioned, job title, company size, industry, and location, don't overlook that, don't forget that, because otherwise you'll have a very generic lead list, which is very difficult to work with, especially if you're selling something super specific to a specific persona. By the way, the most important part whenever you are building that lead list is being specific with the job titles, because if you just type in marketing manager, for instance, Claude or any sort of other LLM of choice or any other lead database typically will give you leads for adjacent titles like head of marketing, SEO marketing intern, marketing operations associate, and those kind of titles, which are not exactly the same as marketing managers. So for that, remember to give it an inclusion list and also an exclusion list, so to show what are the good titles and what are the bad titles, so that Claude can qualify those leads for you as well. More than that, we can see now it's asking me for the specific company size band, so I'm going to say 11 to 500 employees for the purpose of this one. And as far as the deliverable goes, I'm going to say I want to create a smart lead campaign with these leads enrolled there. So as you can see over here, it already came up with a plan. Since we're currently on plan mode, it says, okay, this is the plan that we've generated, 3 smart lead campaigns, 1 per persona, 1,000 leads per segment. And then it just basically warns us about the credit cost, because obviously it will cost us some credits inside of Smart Prospect. As soon as we click on yes and auto accept, it will go into edit automatically mode, and it will then go ahead and start fetching those leads from Smart Prospect. So you can see the plan is approved. It's setting up the tracking and starting with the test data to start with. It also gives me a campaign checklist as it builds through it. So first of all, it's testing Smart Prospect's API, and then it will continue with the rest here as well. And by the way, by default, whenever Claude Code is sourcing any lead lists inside of my Claude Code operating system right now, by default, it automatically enriches and qualifies each individual lead on a contact level, on a company level, and on a signal level as well. On a contact level, the enrichments and qualifications include things like making sure that the person is actually a decision maker at the company, that the person still works at the company, because it's worth double checking. Not to mention that we also want to see if their job title is still the same as it was before, because sometimes the lead databases may not catch up on promotions or new titles amongst the leads. On a company level, the most important things to qualify and enrich are things like the company business model, because in my case, for instance, I can only sell to business companies. I cannot sell to companies that have a direct to consumer motion or B2B2C motion, for instance. And that's not to mention things like the verticals, so the industries, the sub-industries where the company is operating in. And when it comes to signals or triggers, we typically look for things like funding, product launches, acquisitions, active hiring within the department where we're trying to sell our services, because all of these are symptomatic of them potentially being in the market and having a bit more of a budget to be able to afford your services and also solve some of the ongoing headaches. Okay, in the meantime, as I was just waffling along as usual, you can see over here, it came up and looked at about 6,500 UK software and SaaS companies. It filtered it down to go-to-market decision maker contacts across sales, marketing, and RevOps. The seniorities are looked at are as follows, and we also deduplicated the data in the process as well. We then segmented it into the relevant job titles. So we have sales leaders 101, marketing leaders 84, RevOps 36. You can see it says those are real UK software leaders. A few it just pulled are as follows. So this just gives us a quick quality assurance check of all of these people. Now the part that matters, before anything goes near a campaign, every email gets verified and every lead gets a personalization line grounded in their actual company, not made up. Rion is checking deliverability now. Now for the purpose of this, we'll be verifying using Smartlead's own email verification tool, which is built within Smartlead as well, because it's a lot more seamless. You can see over here, it gives us the name, the title, the company, the email address, and even came up with a suggested opening line. So if we just look at one at random, so for example, in this case of us reaching out to Jonathan, we can call out bot clips on selling video into the education space, which typically will involve really long sales cycles. There are better ways that we can phrase it, but again, this kind of observation could be quite good, especially when you're reaching out to a CRO, which is a Chief Revenue Officer. And the best part about Claude Code is the fact that all we need to do now is just say go, and it will run 221 of those leads and push them straight into campaigns for us. So I'm just going to type in go and watch this magic unfold in real time. By the way, if you want to copy this entire system, all you need to do is sign up for a Smartlead account, which will be the first link in the description underneath the video. And in return for that, in the second link in the description down below, I'll give you all of my freebies, including a lot of files that you can upload so that you can basically train up and create the exact Claude Code system that I'm showing you in this video, but so that you can copy it into your own business. All it starts with is signing up for a 14-day free trial with Smartlead. All right, by now we already talked about the volume and lead sourcing part of the equation. It's about time that we switch over to the second part of the equation, which is the copywriting, aka the messaging that we're sending out to each individual one of those prospects. Now for the copy part, I'm just going to quickly paste the placeholder copy, and I'm going to say something as follows. This is the copy that my intern wrote. Improve it, sharpen it up based on your copywriting knowledge, and show me what good copy looks like for these 3 campaigns. And then I've basically just pasted some random AI generated copy for sales leaders, for marketing leaders, and for RevOps. And now let's see how the copy is improved using our copywriting skills inside of Claude Code. And to be totally honest, no matter how good the lead list is in the first place, the copy is the make or break of this entire cold email game. Now, the sequence that I have Claude write typically involves 2 to 3 emails. I spread them out anywhere from 3 to 5 days between each other. And more than that, in each email, I follow the exact same structure. So we always start with a trigger, which is typically some sort of intent signal, observation, or anything personalized or relevant that we can say to this specific lead. Now, the second part of that email typically is the offer, or otherwise known as the agitated problem and the solution that we are offering them in order to solve that problem. And then the third part is the CTA, aka the call to action, where we're asking them to either validate the pain point, reply a specific word in order to receive a guide or some sort of lead magnet. And typically in the first couple of emails, we are not trying to book in a call because there are very little offers with which we can book in calls straight away. And by the way, guys, you can see on your screen right now just some campaigns over here. And if we just look at any of the campaigns that are getting 1 positive reply, for example, if I click into this recruiters campaign, if I click into it over here, let's see the kind of emails that are generating real replies right now. All I'm going to do is filter filter for the lead category to be interested and click on apply filters. And the person in this case says, hey, I can certainly take a look, but I can't make any commitment to purchase, especially when the costs aren't disclosed up front. And this is basically in relation to this specific email that I sent them. And by the way, this was a video that I recorded last time where I show you in real time how I go about finding new clients for my lead generation agency. And it reads something like this. Hi, Ovi. Notice Blue Recruitment Personnel places manufacturing and industrial candidates. Now, this is the trigger or the observation, which obviously shows that we've done some research. Then we basically dive straight into the pain points and the solution. So in this case, the pain point is the unglamorous part is the back and forth emailing of CVs, chasing client feedback, booking interviews by hand. So that's the problem. Now the solution, here is the fix. A white label client portal where the client can basically review the candidates you put forward, accept or reject them, accept candidates automatically, kick off interview scheduling, that kind of stuff. Reply portal, and I'll send a 2-minute demo so you can see it running. Best regards, Tim. And I'm sure we can both agree it's not the best email in the world, but it does follow that structure. So again, reinforcing that this structure works. And if you want to see a library of over 40 positive replies that we have received using Smartlead, where I give you the exact screenshot of the entire email so you can get some inspiration for your own business, again, you'll be in the second link in the description down below. All you need to do is just click on that link after signing up for a Smartlead account. I think that's pretty fair. I think you would really enjoy reading some of those emails because some of them are really witty in their opening lines. I've experimented with cheesy openers, for instance. And you can see in my case, my Claude Code system has all the personalization and everything sorted. So it already just basically adds a personalization bracket at the very start, and it generates the copy. You can pause on your screen right now to read the copy for yourself. It's not going to be the sharpest, but after a couple of iterations, it will get better over time. And since I already have a lot of different copywriting skills installed, it will only get better after I give it some constructive feedback. So all it leaves me to do is just say implement it in Smartlead now and push all leads over there. Now, as we wait for the leads to be topped up inside of Smartlead, it's about time that we talk about the third most essential piece of the equation, which is the email infrastructure. And to send cold emails at a type of volume where you're sending tens of thousands of emails every single month, needless to say, you probably don't want to land into the spam, promotion and junk folders. And in order to have your emails land into the inbox, you need to send them from secondary domains. For example, if your main domain is coca-cola.com, then in that case go by gococa-cola.com. And by the way, this can be done inside of a platform like Smartlead. All you need to do is sign up for a free account. First link in the description down below. Click on the left side of the panel where it says email accounts, and then over here you can click on purchase, and it'll give you the option to buy pre-warmed mailboxes, which you can use straight away for cold outreach, or fresh mailboxes. The rest of it is quite intuitive. I've done separate videos on how to do this. If you want to see those videos on how to purchase and set up your entire email deliverability infrastructure using Smartlead, I'll also add all of that into the freebies guide, which will be the second link in the description down below. But essentially all it is you just clicking on get fresh inboxes, selecting the number of inboxes, and you need to reverse engineer some numbers for how many mailboxes you need. Again, all of that I'll cover in a separate video, so just go check out the second link in the description down below, and I'll give you all the freebies that will keep you well informed on the email deliverability piece of the equation. And of course, after every mailbox is bought, all you basically need to do is then navigate over to email accounts here. Just click on all of the relevant inboxes. You can see I have 116 inboxes here, and then you can click on bulk update warm up to be active, and then start at 5 emails per day with a bulk update daily ramp up enabled over here. A reply rate of about 22% should be pretty good. And then you can also just click on save, and this will by default mean that your emails are warming up, and you can see your email reputation improving over time here. And regardless if you're doing cold outreach actively now or not, you always need to have email warm-ups turned on. And in case if you're wondering, the email warm-up process is just the process of training your emails from your mailboxes to land into the inbox rather than the spam, promotion and junk folders. Typically the warm-up initially takes about 14 days. If you bought pre-warmed up inboxes, you can literally launch on the same day. And the numbers that you really want to track is the sending volume, your bounce rate, and your positive reply rate. So let's take as an example campaign 14 that I launched as a part of one of my previous videos. We got one positive reply from 103 emails sent. So in this case, what we're basically looking at is what percentage of replies are positive replies. Typically, if it's over 10%, that means that we're doing something right. website. More than that, we want to make sure that the bounce rate is below 3%. So in this case, I believe it's around 1.5%, which is exceptional. And the bounce rate of over 3% means that you either are not sending to verified email addresses and or your emails are basically bouncing and not reaching your targeted recipients. Now, the last thing that I want you to know is that typically cold email outreach, especially if you're trying to spice it up with systems like Claude Code or any other fancy AI tool of choice, typically take about 4 months in order to be optimized and in order to start generating results. So one thing that I see super common across a lot of companies is that they give cold email a shot for 1 month and then they just give up on it instantly. So I do think patience wins here. Do stick at it for at least 4 months, maybe 5 months, and there are really high chances this will pay off for your business. If you have any questions about this entire Claude Code system, by all means drop them in the comment section down below, and in the meantime just double check that you're subscribed to the Smartlead channel. Now, if you want to start running campaigns like this for yourself, for your own cold emails, I will leave a link for Smartlead as the top link in the description down below underneath the video, where you can get started with Smartlead completely for free on an extended 2-week free trial. And yes, with that, you get access to the lead database, which has over 300 million contacts. You get access to the infrastructure, the email warm-up functionality, the sequencing and campaign creation features, and of course, the Claude Code connection that I showed you already. And that way, you don't need to sellotape a bunch of different tools together. Whilst I'm at it, we just made a super important video about cold email that literally anyone using cold outreach these days absolutely needs to watch. So hopefully it will be popping up on your screen right now. So go check it out and I'll see you in that video.